Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. My name is Julde, and actually before I start my video, I wanted to bring up a few points. So one of the few points that I wanted to bring up is that some people ask me if I could do hijab tutorials and makeup tutorials, and if you're looking for that, you're actually on the wrong page because I have nothing to cover with hijab fashion. So my page is going to be me writing and also talking on video about what it is like to be an African American Muslim woman. I don't have nothing to do with hijab fashion and things relating to makeup and hijab styles. Even though that stuff is really nice, I won't do it. Just because, first of all, I don't know how to do hijab styles because I just don't know how to do it, and I don't know how to do makeup. So if you see me like with pictures with nice hijab or makeup, somebody probably helped me do it. Sometimes I will wear makeup in my videos, but most of the time I'm gonna try not to wear makeup just because this my videos and everything that I'm gonna do on my page is mostly gonna be information, facts, some of my personal experiences, and basically I just want to bring awareness also to the Muslim military families who have been on United States military bases, because not a lot of people know about us and there's not enough exposure, and it's actually very sad that nobody's really even trying to know that there are Muslims like that live on bases and stuff like that. So earlier in this month, I went to City College to explain what it is like to be an African American Muslim woman. And some of the stuff that I discussed were historical issues with African Muslim slaves and how they were brought and stuff like that. And I brought up a personal narrative which I wanted to share, and I'm gonna share in this video, of my first experience of being a black girl when I was young, 5-6 years old. And I wanted to play with a group of kids who had their toys, and a group of kids were ignoring me for a while. So I just kept, trying to talk to the kids and let them know, like, I want to play. They kept on ignoring me. So then finally I came in to bring their attention, and I said, excuse me, like, I'm trying to play with you guys, my toys, and I feel like you guys are ignoring me. And they all looked up at me and they said straight to my face, we don't want to play with you because you are black. And they just stared at me like, serious. And we were like little kids, kindergarten age, telling me that they don't want to play with me because I am a black person. And it was one biracial kid whose dad happened to be black. And I got upset. I cried. I went home. I told my family the situation. But then I realized that the kid's dad is black. So I went to his dad and I told his dad while I was crying, because that was really hurtful for me, that your son said he don't want to play with me because I'm black. And that boy had to go home. Like, he had to go home. So now, what does that have to do with anything? Well, it's Black History Month. It's Black History Month, and fashion trends and all these other stuff are coming out with their little fashion designs of blackface and all the other stuff that black people thought ended. We thought that when it came to racism and all of that it was still there, but we were reaching our peak of equality where it was no longer black, white, Spanish, Asian, and all of that. That now we weren't seeing stuff in terms of color. We were seeing stuff in terms of the human race. And I want to discuss that. I want to be able to explain what it is like for me as an African American Muslim woman who was also a former Army brat. Because my dad had to serve the United States Army, but this really shapes a lot of like who I was as a child, because I had to move around. I never had the same schools and all of that. Probably up until like high school. High school was like my most stable education, just because high school was the time that I stayed for 4 years. But then after that, my first job as a teenager, I was 17 years old, was the Department of Defense. That was my first job. So, like what that is like with my background, Army background. I'm also African American. I'm a woman. But then I face that discrimination today as an adult because people don't know me. You can't just look at me and say, oh, this girl is this or that. No. And I think that's the whole point. The whole point is you can't just look at somebody and judge them. You can't just look at somebody and say, but we have this thing in the world called discrimination where if you are black, if you are Spanish, if you are Indian or anything, that sometimes people don't want to deal with you just because. Sometimes people don't want to deal with you just because of your religion and all of that other stuff. And it's really, really bad. It's really bad. Because, like for me personally, I'm Muslim, but then half of my family is Christian, and they care about me, and I don't even plan on, I want my son or my children, I want my children to learn about that side of the family and get to know them. That's just who they are. They're Christian. This is just who I am. I'm Muslim. He also has a whole family in Africa just because my mom is African. So my dad is African American. My mom's African. So like basically you're not going to see me doing hijab. Well, anyway, I'm not going to say never, but I really don't want to do hijab tutorials and makeup tutorials because this is not what I feel like matters. And I am going to bring up topics in relation to Islam because, of course, I want to be able to like give some guidance to people who may be struggling religiously. I don't really consider myself as too religious. I do go to the masjid. I do participate in the discussions where we talk about the prophets. And when I mean prophets, I'm talking about Noah. I'm talking about Abraham. I'm talking about Moses. All of those, like we take part in talking about Solomon and all of that. But I won't say I'm ultra religious because honestly, some of the religious women I'm talking about, I guess they feel that they run the masjid. They don't want to deal with me. And I accept that for what it is. I accept that for what it is. But then I have my other Muslim sisters. So I do have Muslim sisters that every time we see each other at the masjid, we just be like, oh, salam alaikum, I missed you, this, that. We be talking, nah, nah, nah. But my whole point is, I'm not over the top religious, but I am still a student of knowledge. And I feel like I should bring some of that beneficial knowledge that I've learned personally from imams and ustads just by listening to their lectures. But also I am going to bring in the social issues of being an African American Muslim woman and some of the topics that I like to discuss, some of the stuff that interests me. But my first experience with being a black person, like that really like hurt me as a child because I never saw color until that moment. I never saw color until that moment. So I am working on a lot of stuff, so that's the reason why it takes a while for me to post videos and stuff like that. But definitely I am working on stuff, and I have my website up now, which is juldehball.com, where you can read some blogs, and I should be having some blogs up by next week, just because I have been having some topics up in mind that I really want to post. So inshallah, I'll be talking to you. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.